Hey guys, good evening. This is Coding Missions Season 2, Episode 5, Luck of the AML Irish. As you can see, I have awesome St. Patrick's background in my area. And also, more importantly, we finally get something really cool. We get to finally mix AML with Go and with HTML. A truly amazing three-leaf clover of awesome things in the episode. So before we continue, this episode is actually not really Stray Kids or K-pop Demon Hunters based anymore because I just want to keep it purely St. Patrick's. All green, all amazing. And also, shout out to K-pop Demon Hunters winning 2 Oscars. Very good job. The Humming was sealed. Stray Kids movie, great success. Jiv, Vanessa, and I really loved it. Really amazing stuff. So that being said, here's the episode. So begin today's episode with actually some coding. A good old throwback. So, this episode is coming down to 2 main components, a net app and also HTML for AML. So one thing we always do is for Go programming is to import HTML templates, log, net, and OS and regular expressions. We write a page struct with title and byte. We then basically determine what type of title we need. It's basically .text, a file for reading the transactions. We load the page, we write a handler for it, we write edit handler. Don't worry, all this will be in my GitHub repo by tomorrow. Write a save handler, all that good stuff. So this is basically all boilerplate code. Now, here's what gets interesting. The main. We have different handlers to handle the function. We have basically a view function, an edit function, and a save function. So for AML, you don't always get transactions that you want because anti-money laundering comes up with many different ways to change up financial crimes. For example, in banking environments, things always change, the rules always change. It's like the game of moniker, it's like the game of, Simon Says. The rules always change. So you gotta make sure you have multiple ways to handle rule change. So if I were to run this code right now, which is pretty cool, if I run this code right now, I could basically first cd dot dot, get out of here, ls this bad boy, cd dot dot again, ls again. So now I basically could then cd into, for example, my coding missions. So coding missions, whoops, cd coding missions, season 2, ls stat, then cd, of course, into this episode's S3 E5 web app, list stat again, and finally run the commands I need for the episode. To build the net app, of course, and then I run the dash slash. So dot slash net app basically means you run the episode code. So it's running now, the net app server, but we don't have the actual application. That's where we go to edit.html. So this is a very bare bones transaction. We have the title, Season 2, Episode 5, Luck of the AML Irish. We have basically 5 main types of transaction category. You have the date transaction, the type of transaction, credit or the debit, of course, transaction category, cash, OTM P2P, peer-to-peer Zelle transfers, real-time payment, automated clearinghouse. The really tricky one, electronic clearing monitoring, ECM, very tricky one, IAT, bill payment, other. Of course, you have description for transaction, transaction amount, and then submitting it. And I'll basically give you a transaction history. For extra work, you can also try to remove it, but really in a banking environment, you don't really remove any transactions in a bank. So we go to edit.html here for recents. Give me 1 second. Yep, there we go. And now we got the HTML here. So before I show you the HTML code itself, I'm going to show you guys one really cool thing. Whenever you have a Go, this is like a main stack. So I'm gonna do a little bit of annotation. I know, once again, you miss these whiteboards. I know, whiteboards are cool. So whiteboards are back for some patties. So you have something called a mean stack AML application here. Because we're using a whiteboard, we have this backend. And because it's St. Patrick's, I'm using green. Because it's St. Patrick's, I'm using green. So I'm going to now use a green backend. There we go. That's better. So we have a backend with green text, of course, not red. Backend. We have the Go app. And within the Go app, you have basically something called handlers. So this is a bit of a throwback to Northeastern Web Dev a little bit. Handlers, and you have also something called a saving state and something called an edit view AML. And this is a finite state machine that goes into front end here, which we have, of course, HTML, edit HTML. So front end, edit.html, which is, of course, editing the AML transactions, and then view.html, which means viewing the AML transactions. So there we go. And then to make sure that they link together, the front end basically calls to the back end with HTTP response of course, you guessed it, 200, which is okay. And of course, the backend calls back to front end, not via HTTP response here, but via a Go server response, which returns okay. And there you have it. That's the basic architecture of the coding that we're having. So I'll save this, and this will put also in the GitHub for the repo. So going back to now my transaction, we have this amazing transaction now called transaction recorder. So to, help me out a bit, I got good old Hemeni over here. Cool. Yes. So go on Hemeni, and let's see what we got here for transactions. So first transaction I'll add is actually from last month, which of course is our Valentine's Day gift with GF. It's gonna be credited, of course, because it's me debit because I'm giving away transaction. Stray Kids dominate movie tickets. And of course, that'll be just 50 bucks. Me and Nessa score 25 each. And look at that, they add in the transaction. Next transaction, because it's more of a payroll thing from KPMG, it's going to be instead credit this time. It'll be ACH, which means it'll be part of my payroll. And this will just be I don't know, KPMG payroll. I'm just ballparking it as well. Not really truly that much, but just ballparking it. And then of course we then got, good old yeah, so it'd be my payroll on Friday would be the 320. That'll be my payroll on Friday. Then going back, we got, of course, Jingyan Chinese New Year on the 17th. And you can add in Chinese transaction here as well. So Xingnian, Chinese transaction, Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year, whatever you call it, mooncakes. So you got some mooncakes for transaction. This will just be 20 bucks. So you see, it's building a transaction based on what you have. However, if you add a transaction that doesn't have anything, for example, add ECM with no description and it's $200, it's going to give me an error. So it'll say, please fill out this field. This is a good way to type check. So of course, I'll add in the ECM again for, I don't know, the 20th. Okay, I guess the 20th, I guess. Oh, for today, perfect. St. Patrick's special. And this will be an ECM transaction for $250. And ECM is basically a very fancy way of saying I paid a bunch of money for essentially an outlier pattern of what I had usually. So let me say I go crazy, I paid this much money for St. Patrick's, whatever. That's how we do it for the categories. And now something really, really cool for this episode is the following. You can also use the inspect to see where your HTML goes to. So you look at all that stuff from the body, the div container, JavaScript. So you see all the HTML is perfectly aligned with the inspect. You can look at inspect here, This is something really cool I learned from Northeastern Web Dev, even at KPMG right now, making the front-end application for for AML analytics. So you have a bunch of different ways to inspect code right here, essentially. And look at that. It gives you exactly the coding you want. And if you want to remove something, you can do this. You can do the following. You can click on this code. You can change it to 18. And you can change the 18 then. Or remove it entirely. You can do this. You can just do this. Select the entire TR. And you can just right click and delete element. And there you go. The element is gone. So that's how cool it is. You can literally like no, I don't recommend doing this for an actual website. This will be illegal actually. But if you want to really play around with code and look at the insides of how AML works in terms of web analytics, that's the best way to handle it. Furthermore, looking at the calendar, we can now calculate review period for a narrative. So because we basically opened this case date today on the 17th, and the review period is within, range, we're still going to be good, right? Now let's say somebody crazy wants to add in last year's December Christmas stuff. And it's for a bill payment, and it's for a ho ho ho, Santa, really, really late. And for Santa, of course, it's going to be 12/25 for Christmas. All of a sudden, because of that really, really late transaction, you're going to have to extend the review period all the way back to Christmas. Or actually, the 26th, because Christmas does not count for banks. So another really cool function is that you can actually use Go to write for different review periods. So with that being said, that is it for the episode tonight in terms of coding. There's now a part two of the episode that is also very, very important, and it's actually really, really cool as well. So this will actually be the episode code I'm sharing from the view.html. So this is recording a transaction. Remember, this is not the same as the other website for the episode. So you got recording a transaction now. This is different. So this one you cannot change at all. So if you want to record transaction, for example, look at my account with my purchase today. As for example, Perkins dinner, I spent 65 bucks on it. You see, this shows that you don't have a transaction that you've already added in. So to actually fix that, you can once again use inspect mode. Go to the transaction history. And you can also do the following. You can add an element right here within the TR. To add another element here, add an attribute. So just do this. You can add in this, copy this, paste right here. I know this is really, really crazy way of coding, but that is how it works. So today, type is going to, of course, be credit. Description of Perkins dinner from our, I guess, date night. And then finally, 65 bucks. And there you go. That is how you get the Perkins dinner working. So that's how you get the transactions working here to make sure it runs. So this little person over here switched accessibility tree view. It'll give accessibility tree instead. That's something more advanced that you really don't need to know, but that's how you basically would run this thing. And that's the settings as well. And you enter command. So you look at CSS overview for the elements and everything. That's pretty cool, right? That's how you want to really make sure that you have the transactions that you need. So look at that. It gave you transactions from the thing you added in. So this also brings in another concept from web dev that relates to AML with regards to stateless and stateful applications. So stateless applications don't change state at all. They basically are stateless. They don't have a state to keep track of things, aka they're memoryless. Stateful applications, of course, have a state to keep track of stuff. And the more advanced treatment of this will be in the next episode when we talk about Easter and AML as well. But for tonight's episode, we basically have a very simple transaction app that keeps track of your money. So next time, if Capital One or your transaction monitoring bank app does not work, use this as a backup. Though do still make sure the math is correct. Don't get into some financial fraud. And of course, just in general, this is a great way to show postgrad skills of your web app, AML, and also Go language performance. Like and subscribe, guys, and happy St. Patty's. And by the way, hopefully the US is doing good in World Baseball Classic. And one of my favorite Irish songs is going to be Dance to the Irish. So I'll be playing some of that on piano for a YouTube short very soon as well. And also, I'll be having a lot of fun making some opportunities uh, with the St. Patrick's later on this week as well. And fun fact, St. Patrick's actually used to be blue, not green. Go figure. Have a good night, guys. Like and subscribe.